Leverage only works in a large professional accounting firm, where staff are paid between 1/8 and 1/10 of their charge-out rates. This allows for the very high incomes of partners, who sit at the top of the hierarchy. Traditionally, large audit firms have been able to focus on auditing big public companies and build their brands as a result. However, changing demographics and a changing business environment have combined to make this difficult. Management consulting guru David Maister wrote Managing the Professional Service Firm in the late 1990s. When Maister wrote the book, there were 3 university-aged people in Canada for every senior citizen aged 65 years or older. But today, the demographics have flipped. In response to a shrinking supply of new junior staff, the largest professional firms that dominate the profession have redrawn the competency map required for junior staff. This excludes about 99% or more of public accounting firms from hiring junior staff, since they will no longer meet competency requirements that have become unrealistic. Newly qualified professionals are no more capable than they ever were. However, their experience requirements have been made to align perfectly with the work done in the largest firms. Effectively, the largest 20 or so firms have devalued smaller practices at a time when a large percentage of the remaining 18,000 firms are nearing retirement. This could decimate the plans of retiring Canadian CPAs to sell their practices as a way to fund their retirement. Alternatively, it could present an investment opportunity for someone consolidating the accounting practices of aging practitioners. This would require a radical reimagining of the accounting profession. The new model would need to leverage technology instead of people. It would result in higher incomes for junior staff and for self-employed professionals. In describing the end of leverage, the CEO of Source, a British consultancy focused on professional services firms, described the situation like this.
One of the biggest complaints that consulting clients have is the frequency with which the brilliant and inspiring partners they meet at the sales pitch are replaced, during the course of a project, with hard-working but desperately inexperienced junior people. Consulting has never been an industry in which what you see is what you get. By contrast, managed services do more than deliver higher quality at a lower cost. They also substantially reduce the need for the junior staff. Much of the work that used to be done by junior staff can be done more effectively with better technology.
The 4 big audit firms began providing management consulting services in the late 1980s or early 1990s. This shift marked a significant change in their business models, as they expanded their offerings beyond traditional auditing and accounting services. The exact timeline can vary slightly for each firm, but it is generally recognized that Arthur Andersen began the transition in the late 50s or early 60s, almost 30 years before the 4 remaining firms. Arthur Andersen is often considered a pioneer in the expansion of audit firms into management consulting. In the 1950s, the firm began offering non-audit services to its clients, and by the 1980s, it had established a separate consulting division. This division grew rapidly, and by the 1990s, it provided a wide range of management consulting services. However, due to ethical and legal issues related to its auditing practices and the Enron scandal, the audit services division of Arthur Andersen eventually collapsed in 2002.
You might think that, based on the experience of Arthur Andersen, the remaining Big Four firms would be a little reluctant when it comes to providing management consulting services. However, today management consulting is growing faster than traditional audit and accounting services. This has posed significant ethical challenges to the Big Four accounting firms. In Australia, PwC is currently under police investigation relating to the actions of 53 tax consulting partners. Prior to that, there have been at least 5 scandals involving offshore tax havens and the world's rich and powerful. These include the Panama, Paradise, and Pandora Papers, as well as HSBC Geneva and HSBC Channel Islands.
Professional studies are the most popular programs at Canadian universities, with business, management, and public administration topping the list at 18.5% in 2019. The highest tuition fees are reserved for the healthcare professions and law. Canadian undergraduate students in 6 professional degree programs paid the highest average tuition fees in 2021. Tuition for dentistry, medicine, veterinary studies, law, pharmacy, and optometry ranged between $23,000 and $11,000, which seem to take into account the net present value of careers in these professions. Findings from the Education and Labor Market Longitudinal Platform show that graduates of these programs have the highest median employment income 2 years after graduating. Corresponding tuition for undergraduate degrees in business, management, and public administration was on average only $6,991 for Canadian residents. That sounds like a bargain when tuition is compared to the more prestigious and exclusive 6 fields listed above. But sadly, the median incomes earned are significantly lower for accountants than the other regulated professions. Of course, that would not be apparent if you went to the CPA BC website, where median incomes appear to be overstated by between 70 and 88%.
So, in an apparent attempt to make the profession appear more attractive to potential recruits, British Columbia's CPAs inflate expected median incomes by from 70 to 88%. At the same time, we updated the competency map for new members. The upshot of this initiative was that practitioners in small firms were no longer able to train new members, since the variety of work provided by small firms wouldn't be adequate to meet the new requirements. This effectively keeps the number of job opportunities artificially low for new candidates. It also keeps starting wages low, and the supply of new recruits artificially high for the largest firms who effectively set the standards.
Professional organizations inevitably point to the complexity of their work and their high ethical standards as the rationalization for the monopoly protection within their occupations. Interestingly though, the Harvard Business School released a study in 2017 showing that accountants and accounting supervisors were the occupations most at risk of overeducation in the United States. While the Big Four firms point to the complexity of the work done by their consulting arms as evidence of their high levels of skill, these skills, if they exist at all, are inevitably obtained by acquisition rather than through higher education. Combine that with their complicity in tax scandals around the world, and the declining numbers of public companies that require audits, and we would argue that the greatest value added by professional accountants relates to their expertise with respect to income tax and, more generally, to tax compliance. If that is true, the experience provided by the largest firms have little relevance to the needs of the small businesses served by more than 95% of public accounting firms in Canada. Regulatory environments in Canada serve primarily to benefit the partners of our largest firms, to the detriment of the majority of practitioners and their small business clients.